And it just spiraled from there, honestly. Once you get an idea and it starts to work, you can't stop yourself until it's absolutely the way you want it, right? So
in today's episode, I have visiting artisan Tommy Kroll. Let's see how innovation meets artistry as we forge something extraordinary together.
You are listening to the Innovation Forge, the #1 podcast on adaptive enrollment management, exploring the data, marketing, and strategy that fuels higher education. Here's your host, David Dysart.
Hello, Guilders, and welcome to another episode of The Innovation Forge. I am your host, David Dysart, and I'm thrilled you're joining me on this journey into the innovative world of higher education and adaptive enrollment management. What if your office's next data training felt more like a game show, or even a Star Wars adventure? Well, today's guest, Tommy Kroll, has spent nearly 2 decades at Columbia College Chicago, turning technical system training into something unexpectedly fun and incredibly effective. From baking-themed choreo competitions to sci-fi relay races built around Slate, Tommy has pioneered a creative approach to team development that's not only memorable, but magnetic. His work proves that culture building isn't a separate initiative. It can be embedded right into the workflows and trainings we often overlook. In this episode, we talk about how creativity supercharges retention, how to design for different learning styles, and why sometimes the cheesiest idea is the one that works best. Let's see how culture takes shape today. Tommy Kroll has worked for Columbia College Chicago for a total of 19 years, moving from student worker to counselor to Slate captain, then to his current role as senior business systems analyst. He is also an alumni of Columbia. He's been working with Slate for 9 years. Tommy has presented for both virtually and in person at Summit for 5 times now. He really enjoys film, theater, and video games. He sees about 2 to 3 movies a week and around 15 theater shows per year. Hi, Tommy. How's it going?
it's going well. How you doing, David?
Doing great. Just so excited to have you on the podcast here for longer than like the 3 minutes that we had at Summit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, also a huge theater fan myself. What's the best show you've seen this year, or like what drives that passion?
Yeah, I've been going to theater shows for long time. My grandma used to take me when I was a child, so kind of just deeply rooted in my blood, and of course, now working at Columbia. But I actually got to go to New York for the first time over the new year, and got to see some real Broadway shows, and got to see Death Becomes Her, and I think that's one of my new favorites, honestly, overall. So not even just for this year, but it was a wonderful show.
That's so awesome. I'm so glad. Any other highlights musical-wise lately?
What have I seen? I've seen so many this year, honestly. I just saw Parade, which was really good, very timely as well. And then we actually got some shows coming up that I'm really excited for this year as well. So, and some big ones coming next year, which one of my favorites, Monty Python's Spam-A-Lot. Saw the original cast when it was here in Chicago with Hank Azaria and David Hyde Pierce, and just a huge cast of people. So I'm excited to see what they've done with it since then.
That's awesome. I just saw Spam-A-Lot. Well, not just a year or two ago when they were doing. I think they were doing previews on Broadway because I happened to be in New York at that time. Great show. I didn't know that the original cast was as star-studded as that. That's awesome.
And Tim Curry actually was the king.
Oh, wow.
In production, and they
Really?
they did the previews in Chicago, so before they even went to Broadway, and I got lucky enough to see the original cast. So yeah, it was pretty big.
I saw the wonderful cast, but I would have liked to have seen that cast. I think that would have been very fun. But so for the audience, I'm guessing most people probably already recognize you, especially from your Slate presentation last year and your virtual session this year, which was also wonderful. I know you definitely. I took your advice about theming everything and being cheesier the better with my podcast, as folks would also know. But what about your work with these kind of interesting and innovative culture pieces and team building resonates so much with the broader Slate community?
Yeah, I think it's the creative approach that we kind of take here at Columbia to some of these more traditionally mundane data tasks, if you will. I know people hear data or systems, and they have a very specific, narrow view typically of what that industry looks like, whether it's higher ed or something else. But I think through Slate specifically, um, we've got to really shine with creativity a lot in the data work we do, and then that just generally goes into the training aspect of it too. So that's kind of how we build these fun um, office culture events, trainings, retreats, whatever they may be. Um, Plus, I have the benefit of working with a lot of my staff for a long time. So I know their learning styles and I know what resonates with them. And I know the more engaged you can make these things for them, the more they'll retain them. It's an associative thing. A lot of times they can think back to, oh, we played this game. That game, we did this. This is how I do the thing I'm looking to do. Um, so yeah, I think like with the Slate community itself is generally creative and a little dorky and nerdy, and we love a system, like most people love a fandom. And I think that just lends itself. I've just been seeing through this whole summer in various things I've been doing and folks I've been interacting with, just that creativity isn't exclusive to Columbia by any means. I mean, so many colleges are, the systems teams seem to be almost responsible for office culture, and it's crazy, but I do think it comes a little bit from Slate because it does kind of do what Technolutions does for our community within our college. People kind of champion around Slate, and it's the best tool we got, and a tool of 12 systems. Everyone wants Slate. So yeah, so I think that's where the community kind of latches onto some of these ideas that we do. Is it's a different approach to something that's a little bit more boring usually for non-data like us, right? So
No, I love that. And then, yeah, just infusing it with interest just makes it so much more engaging. And like the great Query Clash, that was definitely a training highlight that I've ever heard about, whether it's Slate, other systems at all. Can you walk us through that setup? Like what made it and your other initiatives like so effective with your team, and what kind of reactions did you get from participants?
yeah, yeah. Okay, so if you've seen various things I've done, it's no secret that I do everything last minute because, what is time in our world, right? So every year we do a retreat at Columbia, and the retreat is at Columbia. It's not, we don't go anywhere, so we just call it a retreat, but it's 3 days of kind of being together, and we try to do a nice balance of learning slash training, professional development, and also team building or connection through the staff. And for one of our earlier one, and we always do a big theme. This year's was a space theme. We did the next frontier because lots changed at Columbia, so that's kind of where we went. Last year was all aboard. We had a lot of staff changes ourselves, and we did a train theme, and the prior year was a superhero theme. So, but one of our first ones was a picnic theme, or lemons, kind of lemon picnic. We did a squeeze. It was called Squeeze the Day. And so I kind of leaned into that picnic theme with my query training. I knew I wanted to do a query training, and I'm just was being nerdy and doing a picnic theme. So I threw a gingham background on the PowerPoint, and it just spiraled from there, honestly. Once I'm sure most people in our world are this way. Once you get an idea and it starts to work, you can't stop yourself until it's absolutely the way you want it, right? So I just had this idea. I threw the music in there. I looked online and I got the logo, and I changed the logo to say the Great Query Clash instead of the Great British Baking Show. Um, and then yeah, honestly, it just kept coming to me. And so I knew I needed to do something timed, and I wanted to do something in groups. I find the group work is very key to our staff. Um, and it really just kind of developed itself based on the theme of the retreat. but trying to lower myself and to the expectations of the staff I'm training too. So I need to make it a little bit more fun, but also not like something our team should be building. It's just a very basic line query. That's something they would realistically look for. So I settled on something I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was something along the lines of find all your deposited students that have a merit scholarship. Something real clean, basic. Gave them a list of exports as the ingredients, and then the recipe itself really walks them through how to build a query, but in a light way, right? It doesn't tell them what to do. It gives them like throw in a dash of, demographic data. And now they got to go over to their exports and find all the demographic data and put it in there. Um, so, and then, it made it just kind of from there was like, well, we can judge them and score them and give handshakes to the perfected scores. And I actually went to the Slate Spirit Shop and bought a bunch of notebooks and pens, and that was the prize. So keeping it in the Slate world with the query training, but with the bigger theme, it resonated really well. People still talk about it. And so that kind of was one of my first kind of creative approaches to a training. And since then, everything I do for training with queries, which is the main thing we train on with our recruiters at this point, because they know Slate and then they know how to utilize it for the most part, um, really comes from some sort of creative aspect that's a theme based. When we did brief configurable joins trainings with my colleague Marty, which we did shameless plug, we did a behind the cubicle webinar with Slate. You can check out in the community. But Marty always calls himself Marty McFly. So I just leaned into that, and we did I was Doc Tom and he was Marty McFly, and he kind of took everyone who was still kind of stuck in the basic training, local queries, if we will. And I took everyone who was kind of ready for the future, and did some configurable joins trainings with, human chains and showing how to link and join from base to base by utilizing people, and had the lab coat, gotta go for it, right? So yeah, so these things just kind of come out of these places, and I usually start with, oh God, what am I doing? Staring at the screen, and then then I can't stop myself, and it's like 5 in the morning, the morning before I gotta do it, and I'm still like bloodshot eyes staring at the screen, finishing because I want more, uh, more unnecessary stuff usually, like music and graphics and all of that, but it makes it fun and again memorable and relatable for those participants who then can go back. Um, and I mean, they usually come with the intended outcomes, like, which is the important thing, right? Okay, they're having fun, and everything, but making sure they're retaining all of that we're sharing, and I find that it really does help. So I like to do
Yeah,
them.
it's great flavor that everybody enjoys, but it does ultimately very much so serve the end outcome of getting people trained, and they'll actually use this in the future.
Exactly.
So, two parts, it's fine. But so your sessions also highlight just an extremely deep understanding of the Slate backend as well. It's not just the theatrics of it. How important is presentation when teaching and building culture, though? And
Yes.
you've already talked about a lot of this, but
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's super important to touch on, not just the trainings themselves, but the way you present them. And again, I kind of touched a little bit on it, but making sure you are aware of your audience, at least hyper aware of your audience, I should say, because it's very easy for us to remember that we know all of the exports and filters like the back of our hands, but I just did a training that I'll talk about probably in a little bit here, this last retreat, which was just last week, where I realized some of our recruiters had never even heard of one of the filters I was asking them to utilize. And it's a pretty standard basic filter, but it was transfer specific, and most of our recruiters used to be freshman specific only and had just taken on some transfer roles. So even I learn in these moments to where to adjust, or, oh, hey, they need more training on this aspect of query building, not the wide view, but we need to target more of, things like oh, maybe they're getting confused between an export and a filter, and we have to bring it back to basics, or format masks. They're wondering why everything's in military time, or, things of that nature. So I think the presentation of the training, regardless of if it's, again, should try and keep it more engaging. I can generally say that people will not retain if you talk at them. They're going to tone out. They're going to be on their laptop. They're going to be on their phone. They're not going to retain it. And you can't retain query training, in my opinion, specifically by talking at someone. That's just not how it works. You got to do it. Um, but making sure that you're doing it at the skill level for the folks that you're actually training. And you have to, for us, kind of go back to like Launchpad, if you had Launchpad, uh, going way back here, uh, days, or your first days in Slate when you were the captains developing, or not even developing, just learning Slate for the first time if you weren't on the developing team, and just kind of bring it to that basic level. And it sometimes almost feels like you're putting together an elementary school plan, and you feel like you might be talking down, but that you're not talking down, you're getting to their level. And that's the important piece. Because if you're training on too high of a level, they're not going to retain that either, because they're going to like, this is too hard. I'm just going to ask for help when I need it. Right. So just finding that really big, good balance for the presentation of that training, um, is also super, super important, and you shouldn't be neglected. Honestly, that should be kind of the baseline of where you're starting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and always hard because it's not always like it's not usually like a one-on-one training. So trying to like, okay, there's this kind of like this is the average skill level. Some people
Right.
might be up here, some are down here. So kind of being able to present in an interesting way a training that is actually effective to everybody is tricky.
Yeah. Well, and to your point too, like, with the hyper awareness of the back end of Slate, and making sure you don't bring that into the training. They don't need to know, oh, this is doing that all the time. Sometimes it will help if that's part of their role and understanding the flow of an automation, or, I do like to strip back the curtain sometimes and show them how staff assignments work, because they're always like, this isn't my school. And I was like, well, there's 17 rules running your thing, and there might be a missing zip code somewhere, so we got to find it, right? But generally, just making sure you're not getting too deep into the weeds, or utilizing terminology. We talk about this for students. Don't use higher ed terminology to an 18-year-old, right? But same kind of for us. Don't use too much data systems speak when you're talking to a recruiter or a director or a reporting, member of leadership. So, yeah, I think that's just kind of how you should at least start your baseline, right?
Yeah, and then there's gonna be people who like take to it, and then you can work with them and mentor them, take them, and yeah. But these broader trainings, just yeah, you gotta it's the four quadrants. You just gotta really get your audience.
Exactly.
So you've used retreats and escape rooms and the Great British Bake Off. What have you found most surprising about what actually helps build team and actually train them at the same time?
Yeah, so I always joke, it's just give them something to color, and they'll be happy and they'll learn. At least for our team, we always do some sessions in our retreats where we design stuff, make our office values into an office crest, from like a Game of Thrones background, or what's another one? We had when we did our superhero one, we had every team design their superhero team, like the Avengers or the Justice League, but they designed theirs and made their team logo, and that was fun. Um, but like as far as even query training or data training, or I mean even like app review training, or kind of really anything, I personally find that, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, working in groups is super important. Um, our office has used something called Clifton Strengths. I don't know how many people might be aware of what it is, but it focuses on, it's kind of like a Myers-Briggs-esque personality test that focuses on your strengths. Not never mentions weaknesses, just ranks your strengths, right? So we've utilized that in our office, and it's helped make us hyper aware of ourselves and what we're better at and maybe not so great at. And I think that combined with working in groups has really allowed our team to teach each other in the moments. So in the Great British Bake Off, it was like teams of five, and they huddled around one laptop to do this together. So this person might understand filters, and this person might understand exports, and this one knows how to do format masks, and that one had that brief configurable joins training. So they actually are really, really good, and they start to bounce off each other. But what I like even more is I find that continues after that training into the day to day. So I'll be in our office and all of our recruiters are in their meeting spaces and they'll pop out and they'll go to each other, even if I'm walking down the hall, and be like, "Hey, how do you do this?" Or "Can you help me look at this query and see what I'm doing wrong?" And I'll hear that before they come to us. I'm on the systems team, and I love that because they're creatively problem solving and they're leaning into each other's strengths. This recruiter knows that this recruiter is the filter person, and this one's the export person, and they know that, and that's why I said earlier it was so important for our team to do these types of trainings in pairs or groups or never really solo. Don't just have everyone in a classroom sitting at a laptop doing queries because it's not everyone's strength. They're not data people. So leaning into what they are good at and what they know and the way they creatively approach problem solving is really, really cool to watch in these moments because it's a big game, but our team, I'm sure everyone's higher ed folk. 'Cause I could just see it, right? It's probably a standard thing, but as they're hyper competitive in these moments. Super sweet every other moment, but you put a competition in front of them, and it's just like Gladiator in the office, all of a sudden. But they're getting in. I love watching it because they're getting into it so much, and again, that's just gonna relay back into that retention of the training. So, I just find that these little group trainings just grow into these and again maybe not about just the topic we trained on, but now they know how to work with each other better in the day-to-day office space, or quick jump on Teams or Zoom and chat with each other when they need help. And I've been seeing that more and more and more with our team specifically, and it's really cool. It's really cool to watch.
That's amazing. That's like the golden ideal situation
Uh,
is playing out. That's fantastic. Are you like curating the groups beforehand? Like, okay, we're going to put this person who does filters together with this person who does exports, or this is just forming naturally as they are kind of coalescing?
So, early on when we did these types of trainings and retreats, the crew who planned them was pretty like, "Oh, we gotta like assign groups and assign seats because everyone's gonna always be with their clique and their
Mhm.
people." Um, and what we found is that actually doesn't happen so much, surprisingly. Like, I know who are really close outside of work, and I know who are really close at the office. And then they'll come to our retreat and they'll sit on the opposite side of the rooms from each other and be with other people. And so it naturally just kind of wasn't an issue, at least for our team. Sometimes we'll assign things. We did our operations team did a little training about all of the stuff they do and all the imports and vendors we work with, just to show people kind of, hey, we're here and we do a lot, and also, hey, this is where all of your data comes from. And our operations team has like exponentially had more and more thrown on their plate this last cycle, as we're developing our new SIS. So it was their time to really shine. And they did this really cool activity. We had um, our schedule for our retreat was made into a booklet, and it was a coloring book, and we gave everyone crayons and colored pencils and such, and they could color and doodle while they were in retreat to keep their brains focused. But through the book, we also put all of the little handouts and things that we needed for all of our sessions kind of into one place. And they had pre-planned like a number in each booklet. So they kind of did a creative way to divide the groups. A lot of times with my career training, I'll just let them choose. And I always remove our team. Like, you guys are going to help me judge. I didn't do that one year. And then clearly the people who had our operations folks and systems folks won. Uh,
What?
yes. So this year they were my judges in my query relay race that we did, which was really fast. So yeah, so I just find that really that creative team building aspect of all of this is just really the key here.
That's great. Yeah, we just did a Harry Potter retreat for my work. So we had like the houses and everybody. And then I created like a song that just had like our retreat agenda for it. And then we just had that playing while we were getting ready, waiting for people to come in and stuff.
That's fun.
So yeah, just a little bit of flair can just really make those moments so much more enjoyable. So I love the
Exactly.
coloring book.
Everyone always is like, it's not important, don't stress about it. And I was like, I get it's not important, but it is kind of important. It makes the space or the situation less tense, and everyone relaxes more, and everyone has a little bit more input and interest and maybe a little fun while at work. So definitely, I fight the fight. People probably get annoyed with me here, but I'm like, no, it's important. At least I know it's important to the team, and that's kind of why it's important to me.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so yeah,
I'm glad you can be an advocate for bringing that spirit to the retreats and the trainings and stuff like that, because it is important. It's overlooked and functional without it, but it's important. Like
yeah,
that you're going to increase the efficacy of the training and the enjoyment so much more than if you don't have it.
exactly. Do we need it? No. Is it nice to have? Yes, but will it do a lot for the situation? Absolutely.
Yeah. And you've definitely become like known in the community for this kind of engagement forward Slate culture. What's your team's secret to staying energized and creative while also getting the entire laundry list of other work done that has to happen?
Well, it really it does get difficult in moments to specifically to stay energized, right? A lot of coffee as you see me using the old Slate night mug from, the other the other summit. But I feel like my whole team is very, I mean, again, we are in a creative school and a lot of us are alumni from the school. So just naturally there is the creativeness built in from being in our environment, but in general, not everyone is an alum and not everyone is in the creative world, but we are all generally really creative on our team. And I find like our boss, my boss Sarah, really allows us to flourish and shine with our ideas and doesn't, kind of like micromanage any of that, right? She's very open and lets us kind of just do things sometimes, depending on what it is. But staying energized in times of like right now, right? We just came out of retreat. We're building applications that are launching on Tuesday for 2026 while still closing 25. And we have an entire new leadership team at Columbia that started a month ago. It's a lot happening right now, but I find that these creative moments are the saving grace, right? So, yes, I'm exhausted from retreat. Yes, there was 2 days where I literally didn't sleep because I was working on retreat and work and everything all at once. But was it worth it? Absolutely, because I feel like going into the new cycle reinvigorated and like refreshed on why I love Columbia and just so much good and so much stuff to look forward to. So I think, our team just leans into each other a lot. There's moments where I'm not my best, and my boss really just knows, like, take some time, right? Like she's really, really good at supporting, and my colleague Marty has like we talk all the time offline and checking in with each other via text every weekend when we're not working, and dog pics. We both love dogs, so dog pics back and forth, so we have that benefit with of working with this really close-knit team. We've been the one consistent at Columbia, I would say. We were lucky enough to not be impacted by a round of layoffs we had last year. I mean, we have a small team. One person leaving would literally just be a detriment to process. Our operations team does almost everything manually now because of our new SIS implementation project. And myself, I do our undergrad and grad, and then my colleague Marty does all of our special populations. So like we have very specific things that we're focused on, and losing one of us would be bad. So, we have been lucky enough to be a consistent for each other. But I always say like Slate, it's a data job, right? We're doing data work, we're looking at reports, we're looking at queries, we're building forms, we're launching events, but there's so many ways in which to get creative in this role. That was actually a big draw for my colleague Marty coming into this position from a recruitment role. And I was like, you know what? My favorite part of this is I get to be more creative in my day-to-day work than I've ever been, even just in like trying to figure out something to craft or make, you know, and that really keeps me going. Um, it really allows the work to be a little bit more fun. It as much as I love data and I love looking at, I'm doing this really fun data project and with scholarships and auditing and looking at what if this or this for our formulas, and it's a blast and I love looking at those outcomes. But how can I make that even more creative, or how can I make that more legible to folks that don't look at data that way all the time, or digest it in a more fun way. Those are the things that really, really keep me going. And then I get to, again, take that step further to the trainings and the things we deliver to the team. And then their reactions are always worth it. And then I'm like, okay, by the time I'm done, I'm like, and then they are like, that was a blast, or thank you so much, I learned so much from this, or I learned something I've never knew existed. And then it's just immediately right in that moment, I don't care how tired I am, I don't care how exhausted it was all worth it, right? Because the outcome is there. So staying energized has nothing to do with sleep, unfortunately, but we figure it out somehow. And it goes back to the slogan. I know you all kind of might know me for at this point. We give a shit, so we make it happen, and we make it work, right? So yeah.
Yes, hold on, I've got to get my sticker here.
Yep. There it is.
Oh my goodness, there we go.
I see it.
Thank you, by the way. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I haven't found the perfect place. I wanted to do the interview so I could show you first. Now I have to find the place to put it.
Nice.
But no, yeah, I love. I feel like there are so many amazing technical people in the Slate community who do so many cool things.
Yeah.
But the things that always blow my mind are the creative uses, like the independent subqueries. Those are always just David, I think from Yale, has the bass guitars in his background, and he's also just a very creative person. And it's just that is such a creative, interesting, unique way to use independent subqueries that I don't think someone who's just data is going to come up with. It's that side angle that you're going to come at projects to, that you're going to be able to see these interesting things. And I think also one of the reasons why I love doing the podcast, it's a lot of time, but it's allowing my brain to spin on creative ways to do stuff that is also coming into my 9-to-5 now, and I would not have gotten to it otherwise. So I love that creative piece of the community and your work specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. It keeps it fresh. It keeps us going. You to your point, it breaks us of the mundane and the day to day, and I really think it's super key to the roles we all play as Slate administrators. specifically, regardless of your level. Um, I see it in so many people I've been interacting with, whether they're directors of systems or slate captains or business analysts or whatever that might be, operations coordinators, etc. There's so much, every little person has some sort of creative aspect approach to that level of their job, and it's really cool to see. And it's stemming around the system. It's crazy to me, but I love it.
It's very empowering to like techno-functional people who get the data, but aren't like, I don't have a doctorate degree in like data analysis, but I'm able to still do these wonderful things that leverage data and technology and statistics in a way that is really empowering to the entire office and the student body. So thinking kind of as an extension of that, what is like the weirdest or most unexpected place you've gotten inspiration for a Slate solution or a team building initiative?
Great. Yeah. So, I mean, if you know me, it's probably not the craziest unexpected things for people to know about me, but um, yeah, I'm gonna talk about my Slate relay a little bit here because I was just sitting and we were kind of adjusting the way we're training our team in queries this year. Maybe not so much from scratch queries, but how to edit things we already have pre-made. We have a pretty substantial query library at this point, and we're finding a lot of people are just, we have 20 of this exact same query out there and things of that nature, right? So we were trying to come up with a little bit more of a creative approach to like, how can we train a little bit more on editing queries, things that already exist, and knowing what to look for when you're editing these things and how not to break it. I was
Important one.
struggling, right? I was struggling a little bit with that one, how to make it fun and how to kind of make it engaging because I was gonna actually do the British Bake Off again in an enhanced way originally, but that's kind of more from scratch query building. So, pun intended there, I guess. But so I was just sitting there one day, and I'm a big Star Wars nerd. That's one of my fandoms, Star Wars and Marvel. And I was just watching, I don't know, Star Wars Rebels on TV, and I have a little Star Wars podcast I listen to, and it just like came to me to do a relay race, and I themed it off of the Kessel Run, which, if you're not a Star Wars fan, that probably doesn't mean much to you, but if you are, if you know, right? It's a thing in Star Wars that Han Solo did, and half the time it normally takes everyone else, and they made a whole movie about it, basically. So anyway, I just this idea again sparked, and then I just started going with it, and it turned into this really cool relay that we did, and baseline of what I did is I had three teams and the two operations coordinators we have and my colleague Marty, who's the other business analyst, were our protocol droids. And they each were in. We have these little booths in our space that we were at, and they each had a booth, and each team was a different, pod, and they had to assemble a crew to transport raw unrefined coaxium from Pike Syndicate to Crimson Dawn. So we went real full on Star Wars lore here, and I bought glow sticks to be the thing they had to hand off. And basically, what they did for the actual activity is there was three teams, and in groups of two, and they could switch the groups however they wanted to as they went. They had to run across the room to the pod with the protocol droid, sit down at a laptop. They got a clue, and the clue was like something along the lines of, so we had a pre-built query. Should start there. We had a pre-built query on the screen, and the clues were something along the lines of, like, the first one was your crew roster's at 0. Why? And there was a filter on there for staff assigned in my name, and I'm not a recruiter, so I have no student staff assigned to me. So they had to just delete that filter, right? And then add an export to see who the actual staff assigned was supposed to be. But we, in the theme, of course, it was, find your crew, add this, look for this, make sure you can see this. So it was really about paying attention to some of the keywords there. See, filter, or limit, or view, right? And that was their key of it should be a filter or an export. Our protocol droids were there to confirm if they did it right, and if they did, they got a gold star, and they ran back, handed the gold glow stick to the next group who ran. There was 6 clues by the end. They should have all had the exact same query built. And we went through just very basic things, again, like add an address, format the time, format the date and time, I should say, sort. Things, just very basic things. But they did it again in teams of 2, so they got to ping off of each other. And what I actually found was really funny is we found some of our more advanced query users were overthinking. And they were with like a user who might not be as strong in query building, who was like, no, I think, I think it's this way. And they really worked off of each other in that moment. And if you ever want people to really participate, make the prize a comp day.
Oh.
One gets into
yeah.
it. So, we had teams of 5 or 6 people, and whoever got through the relay first, got a comp day. So 5 people got a comp day, and they get to use that whenever they want, as long as it's not an important event that is all hands on deck, of course. And people were sprinting through furniture and selling, and even for second and third place, the second and first team was done, and second and third finished at the same time. And the way my colleague James ran back, jumping over couches and stuff to try and get back first, it was blast. But now that was in that moment, I also did learn that some of those recruiters didn't hear of some of the filters or exports we were talking about. So I learned, hey, this is something that we need to either train on, or maybe something that I got to figure out that level, right? Maybe I shouldn't have put it in there, or maybe we need to train more on it. What is that level? So it was great. I got to refine it. I did it again last minute and way too fast. So I would like to have in a portal. We did it on paper. We kind of went a little old school. I mean, we had the laptops for the query building, but all the clues were on paper and whatnot. I would like to have it in a portal and something that's shareable and updatable and all of that eventually. But again, another real fun themed way of approaching query training. So Star Wars was my weird, unexpected place to get a theme. And I guess you could say the Great British Bake Off too. Like, where are these things coming from? I don't know. I wish I knew. They just come in and the voices go and
No, I love that. So did like second and third place get like measurements like, oh, you did that in 15 parsecs, or you did that in the full 18 parsecs? You don't get anything.
Oh, David, I wanted to have a parsec countdown and everything, but it started getting way too deep, because a parsec's actually a measure of distance and not time. And I was going to start converting light years, and I just ran out of time. But maybe in the portal version we'll figure out that the conversion of parsecs to light years to time on Earth, and do some
the concordance table that converts it from parsecs into
actually, funnily enough, my operations the operations team that went right before me with their little session did a Star Trek theme. I built a whole Space Invaders game to talk about, like, target the spam data, delete the spam data, but leave all the good data. So they had Space Invaders, and they had to shoot down the bad data, but they didn't tell you which color was the bad data. So they were kind of just trying to teach our team what they have to do on a daily basis in a way that's not too deep, but makes it relatable to, like, hey, this is what we're actually doing when you ask us, why does this social security number look wrong? So it was fun, but they actually did convert. Well, I'm not a Star Trek nerd, so I'm
one of those people.
Sorry, everyone out there who are a Star Trek nerd. I appreciate your fandom as well. But the Star Date, I think they call it, they actually did figure that out and convert that on their presentation, which was pretty impressive. So again, we all kind of get a little too into it maybe, but here we are.
No, I need a start date format mask for my date and time now. I think that's what Technolutions need to offer pre-built.
Yes,
That's what
that
it
would be
is. Yeah.
nice.
So, can't even begin to exaggerate how many great takeaways you had in all of that. So, thank you so much for sharing that. Before we wrap up, though, every artisan leaves their mark. In the Smith signature, I'll ask you a few rapid fire quick questions so you can stamp your personal hallmark on today's conversation. So, what's one tool, digital or otherwise, that you rely on daily to keep your work just running smooth?
I hate to say this. This is the worst thing in the world to say, but it is my cell phone. I That's my third screen. So I have my laptop, I have my second screen, but I utilize my phone as basically my calendar, my reminders, my chat device, so I don't have to take that up on my computer. And it honestly, the with the Slate mobile app, I get to do quite a bit mobile. If I'm like
Okay.
in flux and someone's like, "Hey, I need a permission update," or we can't edit forms and stuff very well through there, but we can make some quick updates to a student record or things of that nature. So I hate to say it because I don't want to be on my phone, but it's my phone.
No, I think that's a very fair answer. And what has caught your attention or even sparked creativity or innovation for you lately?
Oh, honestly, this year has really been, I'm going to be stereotypical here, but the Slate community has I've interacted, I think, a little bit more with other folks that I've never met or I've heard from, and I got to be a little bit more personal with. And I've just been inspired by seeing so much um, innovation elsewhere. I think we can be so siloed and think like we're the only one doing this. Everyone else is kind of like same higher ed as everywhere, but it's not. And the way I saw so many other folks innovate just make me want to even up my game even more right now. And I'm like, oh, I'm not doing enough now. So I again, shout out to Villanova, I'm sorry, Villanova College and Hope College. I did the webinar with them, and the stuff they were doing even had me going like jaw dropped. I was like, man, we gotta do cake offs and things of this nature that they were talking about too. So
No, the list is never ending. Like it is just
no, it's great.
it doesn't get shorter either. For everything you build, there's 8 more new ideas that you're seeing or thinking about. That's just like, I want to get to that so bad.
Exactly.
But if you were starting your career today, what's one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Document everything. We had a great implementation when we implemented our Slate system, and I think we took that for granted. And then when it turned into, at first, it was essentially my boss, myself, and one operations person. When we kind of moved out of the implementation phase into the day-to-day management of Slate, and because we didn't have a full team, it was very hard to keep up with. And even still to this day, like, how do we do that? Like, how do we shut down an app again? Because it's like the thing we do once a year, but we do it every year. But so, we didn't document it well when we first started because we were like, it's just a one-time thing. We got this. But just keeping in mind, document, document, document. You're not going to be here forever, hopefully. Other people are going to need to do these things eventually for you sometimes. And utilize, I think the other issue with that is where and how. So try and find it a more standardized way and a singular location to house said documentation.
Yeah, it might take 10 minutes to document it today. It's going to take you an hour next year when you just have no idea what you did last year.
Yep. Learn that from experience.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that's anything that any of us can say we haven't done. And what's one project or goal or aspiration that you have on the block to work on?
I've been talking about this for my Slate sessions and my summit sessions and everything for years now, and I've got to get this escape room going. Uh, I have the idea. It's finally there. It's gonna take a little bit of time, I think, to build because I think we'll need like a dummy data set to make it
Mhm.
actively work, to make sure outcomes are always identical. So something that's not changing, right? Um, but I have the spark, and I'm there, but it's I just the time it needs to be built and created needs to be there as well, unfortunately. So, but it's on the block. I want to get this done. I have the idea. I think it'd be really fun and a real fun deliverable for everyone out there, and the Slate community to utilize with their teams, and even, adjustable for the audience is kind of where I'm going for. I'm trying to make this almost a little modular, if you will. So you could be like, well, it's a recruiter, or it's a new data person on the team, or whatever that might be. Um, so yeah, that's definitely that's the big one as far as fun things to do. And then as far as just general Slate stuff, I'm feel like I'm falling behind on some of these new features. They're coming out too fast, so I got to get back to those.
Yeah, I feel like there's, yeah, again, on that very long list of just like, oh, there's so much AI stuff I could do, or there's so much like, oh, you know what, this was a pain point 2 years ago. They finally released a new feature. Now I need to go back and patch all the things that have weird workarounds.
Exactly. The
But I feel
government
you,
aspect is the hard one to think about right now.
yeah, and I feel you on the training because I have like this 12 series training I want to do for the podcast, and I'm just like, this is so time consuming. I don't have time to do this.
Exactly.
And if listeners want to connect with you about things you talked about today, where's the best place to message you? I'll be sure to add that in the show notes.
Absolutely. So email is always good. LinkedIn, I check that pretty regularly as well. The standards. I'm on Instagram. People can always find me there, at Kroll Chicago. Uh, but yeah, email is fine. T Kroll, my first initial last name at colum.edu, first five letters of Columbia. That's how our URLs all are. So feel free, reach out with anything. I'm pretty open. Admittedly, sometimes of the year it's a little busy and hard to get back to folks all the time, but I always try to, and willing to help and chat. So
Awesome, thank you. I've got to see if I'm following you on Instagram now. And if there's anything that you'd like to advertise or plug, I know you have so many great resources already in the community. Can you let us know?
yeah, I do got to plug a little Columbia here. It is my alma mater, and I do love it here. And we have an event that occurs every May that I always like to encourage folks, if they're interested in Chicago or the arts, or just knowing more, or want to meet me in person. It's a great time to come. It's called Manifest. It's free and open to the public. It's basically our graduating senior showcase, so you can see film screenings and fashion shows and concerts and photo exhibits, and I mean, we have derby races, just a ton of stuff goes on for that event. It's throughout our campus. I know our new leadership is trying to grow the event and do more in tandem with the city. So hopefully next year it's even bigger and better than it always is. You can always see more about it, colum.edu/manifest. I encourage everyone to look at the video for it, for our last year's. It's really cool. It's always shot and edited and developed within a day. From Manifest is Friday, and then
Wow,
start graduation Saturday and Sunday. And they show the Manifest video at graduation. So
that's wild.
it's really cool. And every year one of our students creates an original song that's the theme, and that's the background music for each video. So I always encourage you all to check that out. It's if nothing else, it's some really incredible, talented students, and seeing some of the work that they're putting out into the world. So come check us out in May. It's usually around the middle of May, the second week of May. So whatever the Friday is of May, they haven't announced the official date yet, I don't believe. But check it out, colum.edu/manifest.
Awesome. Anything else I can add to the notes for your previous sessions and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's recordings right now out there of my Slate stage recording from pre-summit, which was Cue the Training montage, where I kind of go in little in depth about the Great British Bake Off and some of the other trainings that we do here. at Columbia. And then I mentioned the Inside the Cubicle Captains and Their Admirals. It was a webinar we did with the community conversations. Um, that recording is in the event and webinar resources of the Slate community. Check it out. We had some wonderful guests, myself and my colleague Marty, and then we had Andrew Myers and Amy Flavin from Hope College and Tommy Kennedy, two Tommy K's in the same webinar, ironically enough, and Ashley Lemon from Villanova University. And it was a wonderful conversation and a lot of creativity amongst those the other two institutions that really just was kind of makes me want to maybe look into doing a Slate session at Summit about Slate and office culture or something along those lines, because it's pretty clear that the Slate people tend to be the cultural leaders in the office, and
Yeah.
it's pretty fun. So check it out.
Awesome. This has been such a wonderful conversation today. Thank you so much for taking your time to share your experience and insights with us. I know your journey and expertise has given us, myself, the entire audience a lot to think about. And thanks again for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, reach out for anything you all have questions about or want to chat about or collaborate on.
Thank you so much, Tommy. And definitely go watch the recordings. They were amazing. Fully endorsed. 10 out of 10.
Appreciate that so much.
And now it's time for the Blueprint Breakdown, the part of the show where we sketch out the big lessons, ideas, and innovations you can take straight back to your own work. Tommy Kroll dropped a lot of insight in this episode, so here are 5 key takeaways that really stood out. Theme training equals better retention. Whether it's a picnic, a space mission, or the Great British Bake Off, Tommy uses immersive themes to make Slate training memorable. The more playful the approach, the more likely people are to retain what they learned and actually enjoy learning it. Know your audience, then build for them. One of Tommy's strengths is being hyper aware of his audience. He adapts training to match skill levels, avoids jargon, and isn't afraid to strip things back to basics. It's not about dumbing it down, it's about making sure everyone can actually level up. Culture isn't an extra, it's embedded. From retreats to query competitions, the systems team at Columbia doesn't just support culture, they help create it. And it's all integrated into their work, not added on top. That's why it sticks. Team training works best in groups. Tommy emphasizes collaborative learning, pairing people with different strengths, encouraging peer teaching, and turning solo tasks into shared challenges. The result? A more connected team that keeps helping each other even after the training ends. Creativity is the antidote to burnout. Even in the high-pressure seasons, creative projects like themed trainings or fun side ideas actually help the team stay energized. Why? Because when people can bring their full creative selves to the table, the work feels meaningful, not just mechanical. Whether you're running Slate at a college, leading a team, or just looking for ways to bring more life into your day-to-day, Tommy's approach is a great reminder. Culture isn't crafted by chance, it's designed. So next time you're building something straightforward, remember that craft can make something truly extraordinary. And remember to strike true. If you enjoyed today's episode, please grow the guild by rating and reviewing the Innovation Forge podcast, or sharing it with a colleague who needs to hear about these creative crossovers in education. The best review or comment every month will get an ebook of my book, of course. Particularly great ones will also be featured on future episodes. Thank you so much for joining me in the workshop today. Remember to strike true, and let's forge something extraordinary together.
Got a spreadsheet on the table, but we're building more than rows. Throw a theme on the retreat, now the learning really grows. From spacesuits to bake-offs, every lesson finds a frame. Cause culture isn't random, you build it like a game. Oh, we give a shit, so we make it fly. Dress up the data and aim for the sky. shit, so we make it